What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid-fade on my boy, so stay tuned. Starting off with our gold FX, we're gonna create our first guideline contouring to his head shape. Don't be afraid to use your opposite hand to stretch the skin when balding out, especially if your client's pores are a little larger than usual. You don't want the teeth of the trimmer to get caught in it. Before we use our foil shaver, we're going to apply some shave sticks so that he doesn't bump up. We're then going to use our Babyliss foil shavers to remove the stubble, and we're going to flick out about 1 centimeter away from our initial guideline. Now that we're done balding them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. Again, you always want to contour these guidelines so their head shape, the fade is going to flow amazing and it's going to match their head shape and it's going to be unique to them. Now that we're done setting in that guideline, we're going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way closed and attack that initial guideline. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to show some extra support, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our one guard all the way open and create our third guideline. We're then going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the one guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Make sure to use your lever and its corners. Again, don't be afraid to stretch the skin with your opposite hand to give you more space to blend. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. We're then going to soften up this line with the lever and move on to our 1.5 guard. Now that the line is soft enough, I'm moving on to my 1.5 guard, and I'm going to use its corners and the lever to erase the line completely. After I'm done using the 1.5 guard, I usually move on to my 1 guard all the way open to remove the line completely, but before I do that, I'm going to debulk the top and clear up the parietal ridge. Moving on to my 3 guard all the way open, I'm going to use the comb to feed the hair into the clipper, and I'm also going to flick out as much as possible. Now I'm moving on to my clipper over comb method to finish up the parietal ridge and make it as smooth as possible. We also still got to do that 1 guard all the way open. I have skipped that step. As you can see, there's a guideline through the middle. Now that we're done using our horizontal cuts to debulk and our vertical cuts to blend, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and finish up the blend through the middle. This is the line we try to soften up and remove with the 1.5 guard. Since the hair is very saturated on top, it's laying nice and flat, but his hair usually poofs up and curls up, so don't worry about that right now. Moving on to the back, we're going to use our no guard all the way open to create our 2nd guideline, and then we're going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline on the bottom. Now we're going to move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our 3rd guideline. We are right on top of the occipital bone, so you want to make sure you detail as much as possible here. Now that we're done using the lever to soften up that line, we can move on to the 1/2 guard and erase it completely. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. We're then going to use this lever to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1.5 guard, we can move on to the 1 guard all the way open and remove it completely. Now we're moving on to our clipper over comb method. We're going to use our horizontal cuts to debulk and our vertical cuts to blend. Now I'm going to saturate the hair as much as possible to get the true length when using shears. Now using my shear work, I'm going to create my first guideline through the middle of the capitis and then match it to the sides. When using your shears, you always want to grab it with your comb and then feed it into your fingers, hold it tight, nice and straight, and then cut it with your cutting blade, and try not to go past your second knuckle with your cutting blade. When you're near the parietal ridge area, you always want to cut at an angle so you can blend into the top. Now that we're done with our shear work on top, we can move on to his front line and use our gold FX to make him as crispy as possible. When using your trimmers, you want to make sure you go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then your hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. When I line up my C-cups, I always start off at the bottom using the corner of the blade and work my way to the top arch. Now we're using our gold FX to line up the back of the beard and make it as crispy as possible. We're also going to line up the bottom of the beard, and before I line up the bottom of the beard, I always lie down my client a little bit so it's more comfortable for them. I wasn't able to get footage of me fading the beard, but I also got footage of me using a razor at the end, of course. Now that we're done lining up the beard, we can move on to our Turkish razor and Derby Premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. But before we do that, we're going to apply some shave gel so that the razor can glide better. When using the razor, you always want to keep it at a 45-degree angle and stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand. This lowers the likelihood of you cutting someone. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to show some extra support, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid-fade on my cousin, so stay tuned. We started off by creating our first guideline with our gold FX contouring to his head shape. You always want to make sure you contour your first guideline to the head shape so that the fade can flow better. Now that we're done butting them out, we're going to move on to the sides. And since there's a lot of hair on the sides, we're going to start off by debulking with the 3 guard all the way open and then moving on to our no guard all the way open. This is going to help us build our silhouette and also clean up our canvas. Now that we're done debulking the sides, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You always want to make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend. Before we erase our initial guideline, we're going to go ahead and apply some shave stick so it doesn't bump up. Here we're using the foil shavers to remove the stubble completely. You also want to flick out around 1 centimeter away from that initial guideline. This will lower the likelihood of you creating a super harsh guideline that will be hard for you to take out. Now that we're done removing the stubble, we can slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to go ahead and support the channel, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our 3rd guideline. We're then going to use this same guard to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Now that we're done with the lower guards, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. This guideline is going to get us ready for our 1.5 guard. As you guys can see, now that the line is soft enough, I'm moving on to my 1.5 guard, and I'm going to use its lever to erase the line completely. Sometimes there's still a faint line after using your 1.5 guard, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help. Now we're using our 3 guard all the way open, and we're going to go ahead and flick out near the parietal ridge and create our silhouette as much as possible. As you guys can see, the parietal ridge is starting to lighten up and become as smooth as possible. Now we're going back to our previous guards, and we're going to detail and spread the blend as much as possible. Now that we're done with the sides, we can move on to the back of the head and start off with our no guard all the way open, creating our second guideline. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Make sure to detail as much as possible because we are near the occipital bone. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. Remember, we're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the half guard. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Now that we're done with our lower guards, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. We're then going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. Again, sometimes there's still a faint line after using your 1.5 guard, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open and using its corners would definitely help. Moving on to my 3 guard all the way open, I'm going to make the fade as smooth as possible near the parietal ridge, and I'm going to flick out as much as possible using my guards. Now that we're done with the fade, we can move on to the front line and start off in the middle, working our way to the sides. You also want to make sure you go slow enough that the hair feeds into the teeth of the trimmer, because if not, then the hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. When lining up the C-cups, I always start off at the bottom and work my way to the top arch using the corners of the blade. Moving on to the other side, we're going to try to keep the vertical bars and corners as natural as possible. Again, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe is greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and leave your super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Now that we're done lining them up, we can move on to our Turkish Razor Derby Premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. But before we do that, we're going to apply some shave gel so that the razor could glide better. Now that we're done applying shave gel, we could go ahead and use our razor at a 45-degree angle and stretch the skin as much as possible with the opposite hand. This lowers the likelihood of you cutting someone.